The front page of the front end is arguably the most important page on any site. As you've seen in the article manager, you can publish your more important articles on the front page, making it a very important place for site visitors to visit first. Now we'll go into detail on how to configure the front page effectively. One common question many new users have is simply, where do I find the settings for the front page? Joomla menus control the layout of the site and the settings for the pages that the menu items point to. This is true of the front page as well. To change the settings for the front page, we simply drill down into the main menu and find the menu item for the front page. Let's have a look at the settings for the front page. It's typically labeled Home. As you can see, the default front page is set to Front Page Blog Layout. If you click on the Change Type button, you can see that there are many options to choose from, but the front page blog layout is the only one that will let us use Joomla's front page manager and other built-in features for managing the front page. It's usually more than sufficient for building a great article-driven site. If you won't be using those features and it doesn't work for you, you can always change the layout to anything you like, but we'll be using this layout now as it works well for our purposes. Now, if we go back, we can see some of the parameters available for this front page layout. Let's go through them one by one and explain what they do. Keep these settings in mind, as they work the same on other blog layouts available to you as menu item types. The basic parameters control the basic layout of the page. The number leading controls how many articles appear in the leading position on the page. This means that they will appear full width across the whole available space for content. The article is displayed up to the Read More break. We would use this for important leading articles. The default is 1, but if you want to have a few more leading articles, you can adjust the parameters accordingly. This is usually for above the fold content. Now before we continue, let's talk about what it means to be above the fold. This is a newspaper term that has been borrowed for the use with websites. In the past, it simply meant page content that was above the physical fold of a newspaper, especially the front page. This is considered the most important content, as even casual readers will usually read it. The same holds true on the web. In our case, above the fold refers to the part of the page that a web visitor can see without scrolling the page down or across. The same principles hold true. Content that appears on the page without scrolling is always more likely to be read. The web is a little more complicated, however, as different users have different screen resolutions. The fold is kind of a moving target and is different depending on what users see on their own screen. We will link some tools below to help you determine what is above the fold for your site visitors. Now, back to the front page blog layout parameters. The next two parameters, number intro and columns, are closely related. The number of columns simply means the number of smaller columns that the front page is split up into. This will usually appear below the leading articles. We can use it to display short blurbs of important articles on the front page, of course up to the Read More break. 2 columns is common, but you can set this to anything you like as long as your template can handle it gracefully. The number intro is simply the number of articles that fill these columns. If you have 2 columns and want 2 articles in each column, we set this to 4. The number links allow you to select how many additional links will appear on the front page. So if you have more articles assigned to the front page than will fit in the leading and column slots, they will be displayed as just simple links, usually at the bottom of the page. Different templates may display them differently, but most should put them in an additional article sort of section at the bottom of the page. The advanced parameters gives us a finer-grained control over the front page layout. The category order parameter allows us to tell Joomla to display all of the articles on the front page in an order based on category. In most cases, this is not what we really want on our site page. We'd much prefer to set the order of articles on the front page manager. We usually set this to primary order only, which is simply the next parameter. The primary order parameter lets us choose what order Joomla should use when displaying articles on the front page. We usually set this to order because it allows us to use the front page manager to order articles exactly how we want them. We can also order them by most recent first, like a normal blog, by title, author, or any of these other options. We usually just choose order because we have control over how articles will appear. It's good to know what these parameters mean, as you can use them in section and category blog layouts on other parts of your site. Multi-column order simply lets us choose if we want articles to appear down or across. If it's set to down, articles will display in order first in the left column from the top of the column down to the bottom before moving back up to the top for the next column. This is often a good layout if you have a few tall columns and intro text that varies in length. It's good to experiment with this to see which way seems to read best to you. The pagination option controls how users can experience your front page article content if you have more than can fit on a single page. We usually control the front page content down to where it only fits on a single page, but each site is different. If you wish to have more material available on additional pages, such as a blog view, where all posts are front page posts, you may need to use pagination to allow users to navigate to additional content. If pagination is set to auto, it will appear if the numbers of articles is set to display on the front page exceeds the available space on the page. You can force it to show or hide here if you like. The pagination results simply show how many pages of additional articles are available. And finally, show a feed link controls whether or not an RSS feed for this page is made available. If you would like users to be able to access a feed of your site's front page content, you can set that here. If you're not sure what RSS is, don't worry, we'll cover it soon when we talk about feeds in Joomla. The component parameters here are exactly the same as in the article layout menu item. You can control the appearance of the articles on this page, such as whether or not they display PDF icons, titles, or other parameters. This was covered in detail in the unit on menus. Lastly, the system parameters gives us some control over the page level settings. We can set our own page title if we don't like what the default is set to. This will let us control what appears in the browser title bar and bookmarks for our site. We often do override this so we can put more relevant keywords in our titles for better SEO benefits. The next option, Show Page Title, usually causes the template to display the page title somewhere at the top of the page. For many sites, this is too generic and doesn't fit well in an overall design. You can include it if it works well with your design, but we typically disable it and rely on modules to display better content in the area for the front page. Front page space above the fold is very valuable and should not be wasted unnecessarily. The rest of these are advanced parameters and can be ignored at this moment. So, that covers the basics of setting up the front page. Tuning the parameters of the front page is something every site owner will do at some point, so it's important to be familiar with everything and to experiment a bit with how these options are displayed in your template of choice.